Maria was a single mother who had spent most of her life quietly taking care of her little family. She lived in a small, crowded apartment in the heart of a town that seemed to move too fast for her. Her days were filled with work, chores, and worry, but she never let the weight of life show too much. Her 10-year-old son, Liam, was her world. He had bright eyes and a curious mind, always asking questions about everything he saw. Maria loved seeing him laugh and learn, even when she felt tired or overwhelmed. Money had always been tight for Maria. Bills arrived faster than she could pay them, and every month felt like a balancing act. She worked long hours at a local shop, stocking shelves and helping customers, always with a smile on her face. Many people in town knew her as the kind woman who never refused help to anyone. Maria's neighbors often said she had a heart of gold. But behind her warm smile, she carried her worries quietly. One quiet morning, Maria went to check the mail before heading to work. Among the usual letters and bills, she noticed a large envelope with an official-looking seal. She picked it up, curious. The envelope was from a lawyer, someone she had never heard of before. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. The letter inside said something that made her blink in disbelief. She had inherited a property from her late uncle, a man she barely remembered from childhood. The property was an old factory on the edge of town, abandoned for many years. At first, Maria felt confused. A factory? How could she, a single mother who barely had time to care for herself, manage a factory? She read the letter again carefully. The lawyer mentioned that the factory had been left in her name and that she could decide what to do with it. The letter said it might require work and attention, but it did not mention anything about the true value it might hold. Maria sighed. She had expected another small inheritance like an old book or family photos, not an entire factory. Maria decided to talk to Liam about it. She explained what the letter said in simple words. Liam's eyes lit up with curiosity. "Can we go see it, Mom?" he asked eagerly. Maria hesitated. The factory was far and she did not know what she would find there. But there was something in Liam's excitement that made her smile. "Okay," she said. "We will go see it after school today." When they arrived, Maria's first impression was that the factory was even more worn than she had imagined. Its windows were broken. The paint on the walls was peeling and rust had claimed the metal doors. Vines climbed over the sides and weeds grew in every corner. The factory looked as if no one had cared for it for decades. Yet Maria felt a strange pull toward the building. It was not just an old, empty structure. It seemed alive with history. She wondered what stories the walls could tell, what her uncle had done there and why it had been left to her. Inside, the factory smelled of dust and old wood. Sunlight filtered through the broken windows, creating long lines of light on the concrete floor. Old machines sat silent, covered in sheets of dust, and crates stacked in the corners seemed forgotten. Liam ran from one corner to another, exploring every nook and cranny. Maria smiled at his energy. She could see the same curiosity in him that had made her love exploring when she was a child. Maria walked slowly, touching the cold metal of the machines, imagining how the factory had once been full of noise and activity. She thought about the lawyer's words calling this place just another burden. For a moment, she felt that weight pressing on her shoulders. Managing a factory was far beyond her experience, but she also felt something else, something she could not explain. There was potential here, a secret waiting to be discovered. She shook her head, trying to push away the thought. As the sun began to set, Maria and Liam walked out of the factory, their shadows long on the ground. Maria felt tired, but there was a spark of excitement inside her. This factory was more than an inheritance. It was a new chapter in her life, one she had never expected. She did not know what lay ahead, but she felt ready to face it, if only for Liam. Perhaps she thought this burden could become something wonderful. The next morning, Maria could not stop thinking about the factory. Her mind was full of questions. What exactly had her uncle done there? Why had he left the property to her? Could it really be just an old empty building, or was there something more hidden inside? She shook her head. She needed to see it again to understand it better. After school, Maria and Liam returned to the factory. The sunlight made the building look even more mysterious. The broken windows reflected golden rays, and the shadows inside seemed to stretch long and strange. Liam ran ahead, his small shoes making soft echoes on the concrete floor. Maria followed slowly, studying every detail. She noticed things she had missed the day before. There were old doors at the back of the factory, some slightly open, as if someone had been there recently. Curious, Maria pushed one of the doors. It opened with a creak, revealing a small room filled with wooden crates and dusty shelves. The room smelled faintly of old wood and metal. Maria looked around carefully. The crates were sealed, but some were smaller and their locks looked fragile. She wondered what could be inside. Liam bounced with excitement. "Mom, let's open them," he said. Maria hesitated. She was careful, but curiosity got the better of her. She found a small crowbar on the floor and gently pried open one crate. Inside, Maria found stacks of papers, old books, and a few small metal boxes. She lifted a box and opened it carefully. To her surprise, it contained old coins shining despite the dust. Liam gasped. "Look, Mom, coins." Maria smiled, amazed. These coins were clearly very old, some with faces she did not recognize. She felt a shiver of excitement. Perhaps her uncle had been saving something special here. As Maria explored more crates, she discovered old photographs and letters. The photographs showed her uncle when he was young, standing proudly in the factory, smiling at machines and workers. The letters were addressed to people she had never heard of. They spoke of shipments, workers, and business deals. Maria realized that her uncle had not only run a factory but had also kept careful records. It seemed he had worked hard to build something important. Liam picked up a small dusty key from one of the crates. "Do you think it opens something, Mom?" he asked. Maria examined it. The key looked old but strong. She thought about the other rooms they had not explored yet. Perhaps this key opened a door or a box that held even more secrets. Maria's heart beat faster with hope. Maybe this factory was more than just an empty building. For the rest of the afternoon, Maria and Liam explored every corner of the factory. They found a few locked doors, some rooms filled with old tools, and a small office that had been untouched for years. In the office, Maria discovered a large desk with drawers. She tried the key, and to her amazement, it fit perfectly in one of the drawers. Inside, she found bundles of papers carefully tied with string. Some were old contracts, while others seemed like lists of names and numbers. Maria did not understand everything at first, but she could tell that the papers were important. While Maria was examining the papers, Liam discovered a small trap door under a loose rug. "Mom, come see," he called. Maria lifted the rug and peered down. The trapdoor led to a narrow staircase going down into darkness. Her first instinct was caution. She did not know what was below, but something told her that this was the real secret of the factory. She took a deep breath, held Liam's hand, and slowly descended the stairs. At the bottom, Maria's eyes widened. The room was large and hidden from view, filled with crates, boxes, and strange containers. Dust covered everything, but the room had been clearly used with care. Maria's heart raced. She could feel that this was something special, something her uncle had hidden carefully. Liam looked around in awe, unable to speak. Maria knew that whatever her uncle had left here was valuable, maybe even life-changing. Maria stood in the hidden room, thinking about the possibilities. She realized that the factory was no longer just a burden. It was a gift, a secret her uncle had trusted her to discover. She did not yet understand everything in the room, but she felt hope for the first time in a long while. Perhaps this hidden treasure could change her life and give her the future she had always wanted for Liam. Maria could hardly sleep that night. Her mind kept returning to the hidden room in the factory. She could not stop thinking about the crates, the papers, and the small metal boxes filled with old coins. For the first time in years, she felt excitement instead of worry. She imagined what her life could be like if she understood the full value of what her uncle had left behind. The next morning, Maria decided to return to the factory alone. Liam had school, and she wanted to focus on examining the hidden room carefully. She brought a notebook and pen to take notes, determined to organize everything she had found. The sun was rising as she stepped inside the building. The broken windows let in long beams of light that danced across the dusty floor. Maria took a deep breath and headed straight to the trapdoor. Once inside the hidden room, Maria began to examine the crates more carefully. She opened boxes that she had not yet touched. Inside, she found coins from different countries and different time periods. Some looked like rare collector's coins. Others seemed to have been made of gold or silver. Maria felt a thrill she had never known. She carefully recorded every detail in her notebook, trying to understand what her uncle had hidden. As she explored, she came across more letters and notes. Many were written to business partners describing shipments of goods, investments, and property deals. Some letters mentioned large sums of money, though Maria could not yet calculate the total value. Her uncle had been careful and smart. He had built something incredible, and he had kept it secret, safe from anyone who might misuse it. Maria felt proud and amazed. While she was studying a stack of old maps, Maria noticed a crate that looked different. It was larger and heavier than the others with a locked metal lid. She tried to open it, but it would not budge. Her hands trembled as she searched for the key she had found earlier. It fit perfectly. With effort, she lifted the lid. Inside were rows of shiny gold bars stacked neatly and reflecting the sunlight from the window. Maria could hardly believe her eyes. She had never seen so much gold in her life. Her heart raced. She realized that the hidden room was more than just a storage space. It was a treasure vault. She could not yet understand the full value of what she had found, but she knew it was immense. She thought about Liam and how different their life could be. She thought about the apartment they lived in and the bills that always piled up. Suddenly, all her struggles felt smaller. For the first time, she could see a future filled with possibilities. Maria spent the entire day organizing the room. She made careful notes of the coins, gold bars, and papers. She stacked everything neatly, thinking that she would need help from experts to understand the true value. She wanted to protect the treasure, just as her uncle had intended. As she worked, she noticed that some of the papers included instructions. Her uncle had written about his intentions, explaining how he wanted the property and its contents to be used. Maria felt a deep connection to him, as if he were guiding her even from beyond. By evening, Maria felt tired but satisfied. She closed the trapdoor carefully and left the factory. The sunlight was fading and the streets of the town looked calm. Maria thought about the days ahead. She knew she had to be careful, but she also knew that her life was about to change. This hidden treasure was not only a gift but also a responsibility. When Maria returned home, Liam ran to her with excitement. He asked about the factory, about what she had found. Maria smiled and hugged him. She decided to tell him a little, enough to spark his curiosity but not overwhelm him. "It's amazing, Liam," she said. "Your uncle left us something very special. We have to take care of it and learn more about it." Liam's eyes sparkled. He could sense the excitement in his mother's voice and felt that their lives were about to become extraordinary. That night, Maria could finally sleep. She dreamed of the hidden room, the shining gold bars and the stacks of coins. She knew that she had inherited much more than a factory. She had inherited hope, opportunity, and a chance to give Liam the life she had always wished for. Maria realized that her uncle had trusted her to discover and protect his secret, and she was ready for the journey ahead. The following morning, Maria felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The hidden room in the factory had changed everything. She knew that the treasure her uncle left behind could give her and Liam a life free from worry. But she also realized it was a big responsibility. She needed a plan. She could not just leave the treasure in the old factory without taking precautions. Maria decided to call a friend she trusted, Mrs. Noor, who had worked in finance for many years. Maria explained her discovery carefully, without going into too many details over the phone. Mrs. Noor was surprised but offered to help. She suggested that Maria hire experts to evaluate the coins, gold bars, and documents. It would take time, but it was important to understand exactly what she had inherited. Maria agreed. She felt relieved that she was not alone in this. That afternoon, Maria returned to the factory with Liam. He ran ahead, exploring as usual, while Maria went straight to the hidden room. She wanted to make sure everything was organized and safe until the experts arrived. As she looked at the neatly stacked gold bars and crates of coins, Maria felt a deep sense of pride. Her uncle had worked hard to build something valuable, and now it was her turn to honor his work. While inspecting the documents again, Maria discovered a notebook her uncle had kept. It contained detailed notes about the treasure, including hints about where he had hidden some of the rarest coins. Maria realized that her uncle had carefully planned everything to make sure it stayed safe. She smiled, thinking about how clever he had been. Liam peeked over her shoulder, eyes wide. "Mom, this is like a real-life treasure hunt," he said. Maria laughed softly. She knew he was right. Over the next few days, Maria contacted experts in coins, gold, and antique documents. They visited the factory one by one, carefully examining everything she had found. Each expert confirmed what Maria had suspected. The treasure was worth an enormous amount of money, far more than she could have imagined. The coins were rare, some hundreds of years old. The gold bars were pure and carefully stored. The documents contained valuable information about past business deals that could also be worth a fortune. Maria felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. She had grown up thinking life was always a struggle, but now she realized that this inheritance could open doors she had never dreamed of. She thought about Liam and how different his life could be. He could have a proper education, new opportunities, and the freedom to explore his dreams. Maria's heart swelled with hope and determination. She knew she had to be careful, but she also knew she could not waste this chance. Despite her excitement, Maria also faced challenges. The factory was still old and abandoned in many areas. Some doors were rusty, and the building itself needed repairs. She made a list of things to fix, deciding to improve the security of the place first. She also thought about the hidden room. It needed to remain secret until she could fully understand the treasure and how to protect it. Maria realized that being responsible meant more than just enjoying wealth. It meant careful planning and thought. As days passed, Maria and Liam spent more time at the factory. Liam loved exploring, asking questions, and helping his mother organize the crates and documents. Maria appreciated his energy and curiosity, realizing that this experience was bringing them closer together. They laughed and learned together, turning the old, abandoned factory into a place of excitement and discovery. One evening, as the sun set and painted the factory walls with gold and orange light, Maria stood in the hidden room looking at the treasure. She felt grateful for her uncle's trust and for the opportunity to change their lives. She promised herself that she would use this treasure wisely, not only for her and Liam, but also to honor her uncle's memory. She knew that this was only the beginning of a new journey, one that would test her courage, wisdom, and heart. Maria left the factory that night feeling strong and hopeful. She had discovered a treasure beyond imagination, but more importantly, she had discovered her own strength and determination. She realized that life was not just about surviving challenges, but also about embracing opportunities and making choices that could shape a brighter future. Maria spent the next morning feeling restless. She had already organized the treasure and contacted experts, but her mind kept returning to the questions that had not yet been answered. Why had her uncle hidden such an enormous fortune? What had he hoped for her to do with it? She felt that there were still secrets waiting to be discovered inside the old factory. After breakfast, Maria decided to return to the factory with Liam. He loved helping her, and she found comfort in his energy. The sun was bright, casting long shadows on the building as they approached. Maria noticed small details she had missed before. Old signs above doors, faint markings on the walls, and small compartments hidden in corners. It was clear that her uncle had designed the factory with care, leaving clues and spaces that only someone curious and careful could discover. Inside the hidden room, Maria began inspecting the crates again. She had already examined the gold bars, coins, and documents, but something told her that there was more. She carefully lifted a stack of papers and noticed a folded envelope that had been tucked beneath them. The envelope was sealed with a wax stamp, and the initials RL were pressed into it. Maria's heart raced. She knew these were her uncle's initials. She opened the envelope slowly, trying not to tear it. Inside was a letter written in neat, careful handwriting. It began with her uncle's words addressing her directly. He explained that the factory had been his life's work, and that he had hidden the treasure to protect it until the right person found it. He praised Maria for her honesty, courage, and dedication, saying that she had proven herself worthy of discovering the secret. The letter continued with instructions. Her uncle had left hints about other hidden compartments in the factory, places where even more valuable items were stored. He encouraged Maria to take her time, explore carefully, and think wisely about how to use the treasure. The final lines of the letter were simple but powerful. This treasure is not only for you, but also for those who need it. Use it with a kind heart, and it will bring joy and hope to your life and others. Maria felt a surge of emotion as she read the letter. She realized that her uncle had not just left her gold and coins. He had left guidance, wisdom, and trust. She looked at Liam, who was staring at her with wide, curious eyes. "Mom, is there more treasure?" he asked softly. Maria smiled, feeling a sense of adventure. "Yes, Liam," she said. "But we have to be careful and smart. Your uncle left it for us to discover step by step." Encouraged by the letter, Maria began exploring other parts of the hidden room. She found small compartments behind the walls, cleverly hidden under panels. Some contained rare coins, old jewelry, and small antique artifacts. Each discovery brought a new sense of wonder and excitement. Liam helped her, his curiosity driving him to examine every corner and surface. Maria felt proud of him. He was learning not only about treasure but also about patience, care, and responsibility. As they explored, Maria noticed a faint staircase leading further down into the earth beneath the factory. The stairs were narrow and dusty, but they looked solid. She remembered her uncle's words about exploring carefully and decided to follow the staircase slowly. At the bottom, they discovered another small room. This one was filled with shelves, each containing carefully labeled boxes. Maria carefully opened one box and gasped. It contained stacks of old rare coins, even more valuable than those they had found before. She realized the full scale of the treasure was beyond what she had imagined. Maria spent the rest of the afternoon cataloging the items, carefully noting every detail in her notebook. She knew that understanding and organizing the treasure was the first step toward using it wisely. Liam sat nearby, helping her by passing items and pointing out small details. Together, they worked as a team, uncovering the mysteries of the factory and learning about her uncle's careful planning. By evening, Maria closed the hidden room with a sense of accomplishment. She realized that the treasure was not just wealth. It was a lesson in trust, responsibility, and family. Her uncle had left her more than gold and coins. He had left her a chance to make a difference in her life and the lives of others. Maria felt determined to honor his legacy and ensure that the treasure would be used wisely, for the good of her family and anyone in need. Maria woke early the next morning, feeling a sense of purpose she had never felt before. The hidden treasure had given her more than hope. It had given her a goal. She wanted to make life better for Liam, and she wanted to honor her uncle's trust. But she also realized that having treasure was not enough. She needed a plan to protect it, understand it, and use it wisely. After breakfast, Maria decided to meet Mrs. Knorr again. She explained that she wanted to start organizing the treasure and also figure out how to secure it safely. Mrs. Knorr suggested consulting a professional who specialized in valuable collections and security. Maria agreed. She knew she needed guidance from people who understood the true value of coins, gold, and rare artifacts. Once the appointments were made, Maria returned to the factory with Liam. She wanted him to be part of the process, not only because it was exciting, but also because she wanted him to understand responsibility. Liam ran ahead, exploring as usual, while Maria went to the hidden room to make preparations. She carefully labeled the crates, checked the locks, and noted everything in her notebook. She wanted to ensure that nothing would be lost or damaged. While organizing, Maria found a small drawer she had never opened before. Inside were letters from her uncle to himself, filled with notes about how he had acquired certain items and what their significance was. Some letters explained the history of rare coins, while others described the value of certain gold bars and documents. Maria realized that her uncle had not only left her a fortune but also knowledge. He wanted her to understand what she had inherited so she could make informed decisions. By mid-morning, the first expert arrived. He was a kind man named Mr. Rafiq, who specialized in antique coins. He examined the coins carefully, weighing them, measuring them, and recording details. Maria watched closely, learning from him. She asked questions about the age, rarity, and potential value of each coin. Mr. Rafiq explained that some coins were centuries old and very rare, while others had historical significance. Maria's excitement grew as she realized that the treasure was far more valuable than she had imagined. Next, a security expert arrived. Maria explained that she wanted to protect the treasure while they worked on understanding its value. The expert suggested installing cameras, strong locks, and an alarm system. He also recommended keeping detailed records of every item. Maria agreed with all of his suggestions. She understood that protecting the treasure was just as important as discovering it. As the day went on, Maria and Liam worked together to help the experts. Liam handed coins, passed papers, and even helped write down notes. He was proud to be part of the process, and Maria enjoyed teaching him about history, responsibility, and careful work. She felt a growing sense of connection with him, knowing that they were building something together. By evening, the first part of the evaluation was complete. Maria reviewed the notes and realized that the treasure was worth much more than she had ever imagined. The coins, gold bars, and rare documents formed a collection of incredible value. She also understood that her uncle's careful planning had made it possible for her to discover and protect it. Maria felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her uncle had trusted her, and she was determined not to let him down. Before leaving the factory, Maria sat with Liam in the hidden room. She looked around at the crates, coins, and gold bars, imagining the possibilities. "Liam," she said softly, "we have to be careful, but we can also make our lives better and help others. Your uncle left this for us to use wisely, and we will." Liam nodded, his eyes wide with understanding. He felt proud of his mother and excited about the adventure they were sharing. As they left the factory, Maria felt stronger and more confident. She knew there was still much to do, but she had taken the first steps. She had organized the treasure, begun learning its value, and taken measures to protect it. Most importantly, she had involved Liam, teaching him lessons that went beyond money. Maria realized that the journey was just beginning, and that the choices she made now would shape their future. That night, Maria slept with a sense of peace and determination. She had inherited more than gold and coins. She had inherited responsibility, trust, and hope. She knew that her life was changing, and that she had the strength to face whatever challenges came next. The hidden treasure was no longer just a secret in the factory. It was a new beginning for her and Liam, full of opportunity and promise. The following week, Maria began to feel a mix of excitement and responsibility. The treasure in the hidden room was now organized, and the experts had finished their initial evaluations. Maria finally understood just how valuable her uncle's legacy truly was. It was not just the gold bars, coins, and rare documents. It was the careful planning, the trust, and the purpose behind everything he had left. She realized that this was more than a fortune. It was a chance to create a new life. Maria decided to start thinking about the future. She wanted to use the treasure wisely, both to secure their life and to honor her uncle's intentions. She and Liam sat in the small living room of their apartment, discussing what they could do. Liam was excited, his eyes sparkling with ideas. "Mom, we could help people in the town," he suggested. "And maybe we could go on trips and learn new things." Maria smiled. She knew that her son's imagination was endless, and she wanted to give him the chance to explore it. The next day, Maria returned to the factory. She walked slowly through the dusty halls, thinking about what her uncle had left behind. The hidden room, with its neatly stacked crates and shining gold bars, now felt like a place of opportunity. Maria spent hours reviewing her uncle's letters again. She discovered more instructions about certain valuable items and suggestions about how to handle them responsibly. It became clear that her uncle had hoped she would use the treasure not only for herself, but also to help others. Inspired, Maria began making careful plans. She wanted to start by improving the factory itself. Many parts of the building were old and worn, and she thought it could be restored as a safe place for the treasure, and as a space for work or learning. Maria made a list of repairs and improvements, including fixing the broken windows, reinforcing the doors, and installing a secure alarm system. She knew that the factory could become more than a storage place. It could become a symbol of hope and opportunity. Liam helped in small ways, carrying tools, handing her screws, and offering ideas. Maria enjoyed seeing him learn the value of hard work and careful planning. She explained to him why it was important to be patient and responsible. Liam listened carefully, proud of his mother and eager to contribute. Together, they began cleaning parts of the factory, removing debris and making small repairs. Maria felt a sense of purpose she had never felt before. As the days passed, Maria also started thinking about investments. She spoke with Mrs. Knorr and other advisors about using the treasure to create steady income and financial security. They discussed safe ways to invest while keeping the physical treasure protected. Maria listened carefully and learned quickly. She realized that this was a chance not only to change her life but also to make wise decisions that could last for many years. One evening, while reviewing the hidden room, Maria discovered a small chest tucked behind one of the shelves. It was carefully locked, and she had not noticed it before. Her hands trembled as she used the key she had found earlier. Inside, she found more rare coins, some of them older than any she had seen before, and a few small, intricately carved ornaments. Maria's heart raced. The treasure seemed endless, and she realized that every item her uncle had left was part of a bigger plan. Maria felt a mix of awe and determination. She knew she had inherited not only wealth but also responsibility. She thought about Liam and the life she wanted to give him. She thought about the people in the town and how the treasure could make a difference beyond their family. Maria realized that her journey was only beginning. The factory, the hidden room, and the treasure were more than objects. They were keys to a new chapter, one filled with hope, learning, and opportunity. By the end of the week, Maria felt ready to take the next steps. She had a plan to improve the factory, protect the treasure, and begin using it wisely. Most importantly, she had confidence in herself and in Liam. They were no longer just surviving day to day. They were building a future. Maria smiled as she looked at the hidden room one last time that evening. She knew that her uncle had trusted her, and she was ready to honor that trust with every choice she made. The weeks that followed were full of activity and excitement for Maria and Liam. The factory, once abandoned and quiet, had become a place of purpose and learning. Maria had worked tirelessly, fixing broken windows, repairing doors, and installing a secure system to protect the treasure. The hidden room was now well organized, and every coin, gold bar, and document had been carefully cataloged. Maria felt a deep sense of pride. She realized that the treasure was more than wealth. It was a responsibility, a chance to create a better life, and a way to honor her uncle's memory. Every day she and Liam worked together, cleaning, organizing, and learning about the history and value of the treasure. Liam had become careful and thoughtful, understanding the importance of what they had discovered. With the help of experts, Maria had begun converting part of the treasure into safe investments. She wanted to make sure they had steady financial security for years to come. She also thought about the people in her town, many of whom were struggling as she had once struggled. Maria decided she could use some of the treasure to help others. She quietly donated resources to local schools and small businesses, making a difference without seeking recognition. She wanted to follow her uncle's advice and use the treasure with a kind heart. One afternoon, Maria sat in the hidden room, reviewing a stack of letters from her uncle. They were filled with advice and wisdom, reminding her to remain patient, thoughtful, and careful. As she read, she felt a warm connection to him. He had trusted her to make good choices, and Maria realized that the real treasure was not just gold or coins, but the lessons he had left behind. Liam came over with a small notebook. "Mom, can we make a list of what we want to do first?" he asked. Maria smiled. She loved his energy and enthusiasm. Together they created a plan. They would continue securing the factory, cataloging the treasure, and learning more about its value. They would also find ways to give back to the community. Most importantly, they would enjoy this new life together, exploring opportunities that had once seemed impossible. As the months passed, the factory became a safe and inspiring place. Maria hired a few trusted people to help with maintenance and organization. She also invited experts occasionally to teach her and Liam about history, coins, and investments. Liam loved learning about the stories behind the treasure, and Maria was happy to see him so engaged. They spent weekends exploring parts of the factory, finding small hidden compartments, and discovering objects that told stories of her uncle's careful planning. Maria realized that the treasure had changed them in more ways than one. It had brought them closer, taught them patience, and given them a sense of purpose. She thought about how far they had come, from struggling with bills to having a future filled with possibilities. The burden she had once felt had transformed into opportunity, responsibility, and hope. One sunny morning, Maria and Liam walked outside the factory, looking at the building that had become a symbol of their journey. Liam held her hand and smiled. "Mom, we did it. We found the treasure and we are making it count." Maria hugged him tightly, feeling proud and grateful. She realized that the real treasure was not just the gold or coins, but the lessons they had learned, the work they had done, and the future they were building together. Maria knew that challenges would still come, but she felt confident. She had learned to trust herself, to plan carefully, and to make wise choices. She had inherited more than a fortune. She had inherited courage, wisdom, and the opportunity to create a meaningful life for herself and Liam. The factory, once abandoned and empty, now represented hope, growth, and new beginnings. As the sun set, Maria stood outside the factory, watching the golden light reflect off the walls. She smiled, thinking of her uncle and the trust he had placed in her. The treasure had brought them more than wealth. It had given them a life filled with purpose, learning, and love. Maria knew that no matter what the future held, they were ready to face it together, with hope and determination. And so Maria and Liam's story continued, full of opportunity, discovery, and joy. The burden she had once feared had become a blessing, a hidden treasure that had changed their lives forever.